Hello guys, and welcome to what is going to be a very short version of the Russian Football News Predictions League for this week. We have 11 games. We have the postponed 3 games from round 23, that is Lokomotiv, Zenit and CSKA, who are all at home, and then we have the full round 27. Guys, I'm going to have to rattle through, I'm afraid, because there's not much space left on my tablet. So, without further ado, on Wednesday we have Lokomotiv against Akhmat Grozny. Lokomotiv, of course, are top of the table, and if they win this game, they will go 8 points clear of Spartak, who are in Russian Cup semi-final action, which would all but guarantee their first league title in 14 years, I believe it is. Akhmat have lost. They've lost 5 of the last 6 away games, so I really don't see this being anything other than a relatively comfortable Lokomotiv win. I'm going to go for 2-0. Moving on, we have Zenit at home to Dynamo Moscow. Zenit, well, they won their first away game in, I don't know, something like 6-7 months. Last time they were away from home. Now they're back at home. Igor Smolikov is suspended. Andrei Lunyov is injured. And Mamano and Kokorin are still, of course, out with cruciate ligament injuries. But Dynamo Moscow, they were rocked 4-0 by Lokomotiv at home. That was a fairly chastening result, that. So I expect Zenit to do the business again here. I don't think they're going to be overly expansive, but this is their opportunity to put distance between them, certainly them and Krasnodar, and put pressure on CSKA to also get the result. Otherwise, it could be Zenit who sneak into that third Champions League place. So I'm going to go for 1-0 to Zenit. Moving on, we're going to go for CSKA against Amkar Perm. CSKA, okay, they had their heroic Europa League exploits against Arsenal. They were so close to getting that third goal that would have put them ahead on aggregate until Arsenal hit back with 2 more goals themselves and knocked CSKA out. But in the actual Premier League itself, CSKA had a creditable result away to Ufa. They drew 1-1. Ufa are very strong at home. And themselves, they are chasing Europa League. They're only 1 place below CSKA in the league, but they're 10 points behind them. That gap between 5th and 6th is not going to be surpassed, but 6th place is going to be enough for Europa League. If Spartak win the Russian Cup, which they're very likely to do because they've only got 2 Fener clubs in the other semi-final, and Tosna, who are struggling in, who they will play on Wednesday, they win the Cup. That Europa League place that would have gone to the Cup winner goes to 6th place in the league. It's a relatively new UEFA rule in the last 3 or 4 years. And that would go to whoever finishes 6th. So, Ufa, they are pushing for lots, but CSKA got the win. They had to fight back from 1-0 down. Very good result. So, I see that Amkar, well, they lost at home 3-0 to Rubin Kazan, who are starting to pick up a bit of form themselves in that race for 6th. CSKA to win this one for me, 2-0. And that's the midweek games on Wednesday. They are the postponed games from week 23. For our predictions purposes, they will all count together. All 11 will be in this week of the Predictions League. So the deadline, you must get all predictions, all 11 in by 5:30 British summertime on Wednesday. That is it. They're absolutely final. I will not budge on that because it's got to be fair to everybody. Okay, now on to the round 27 proper. Spartak are at home to Akhmat Grozny. Well, like I mentioned, Akhmat, this is their 2nd away game in a row, and before Wednesday, they had, like I said, lost 5 of the last 6. Spartak Moscow, well, that result against Ural Yekaterinburg, coupled with Lokomotiv's emphatic win against Dynamo, really took the wind out of their sails in the title race. I think that really has surely got to be it. Now, we've said that a number of times, and then the gap has been closed ever so slightly. It's not mathematically over, but I realistically think it is realistically over. A few injury worries, possible worries for Spartak, but they're playing a team who are hopeless away from home. I do think this will be comfortable. I think it'll be 2-0 to Spartak. That's my call. Moving on. Sorry, I've actually gone to the last game of the round first. I didn't mean to do that, but anyhow, that will count. Rubin Kazan at home to Rostov. Rubin, like I say, they're one of the form teams in mid-table. At the moment, they are only 1 point behind Ufa and Arsenal, who are both on 35 points. So 1 point behind that in that all-important 6th place. Sardar Azmoun is suspended. That's the one big blow for them. He scored 4 goals in the last 2 games. That puts him as joint top scorer just for scoring 4 goals in the last 2 games. Interestingly, Jonatas, who left in August, is still joint top scorer at Rubin. I find that fascinating. In a weird way, I just don't want anybody else to score 5 goals this season. But anyhow, that's by the by. Rostov, they did win against, pardon me, SKA Khabarovsk at the weekend. A fairly routine Fairly routine win, and a very welcome one that puts them only 2 points clear of the relegation zone. But Rostov, they've really struggled. Valery Karpin got his first win for them. That's great, but there's no way getting around the fact that until they won against SKA Khabarovsk, who pretty much everybody would win against nowadays, they hadn't won the last 5. So I'm going for 1-0 to Rubin. Realistically, they should score more, but they're missing Sardar Azmoun, so I'm toning it down to 1-0. Anzhi against Ural Yekaterinburg. Now, I was at the game in the official opening of the Yekaterinburg Arena, actually the second game played there. Rubin Kazan drew 1-1 in the first game, and it was a rousing performance from Ural. They weren't torn apart by Spartak. Spartak did dominate for large periods, but Dominik Dinga, playing one of his first games of the season at centre-back, is still only a teenager. Came a couple of years ago as a 17-year-old from Serbia and has struggled to get game time against, and he played alongside Adoyan, Asmat Adoyan, who's not been a regular either. So unsettled centre-back partnership, and they coach well. So they won 2-1. Anzhi, last weekend they were up against... it's just slipped my mind. This is not helpful. I need to be quick. They lost 1-0 away to Zenit St. Petersburg. I'm going to go for an Ural win, 1-0. Now, I know a lot of you, the regulars on this, all 2 or 3 of you, will know that I'm slightly biased towards Ural, but I genuinely do think there's positivity around them. They've unbeaten in 4, opening of a new stadium. The realistic possibility of finishing 6th is now really on the cards, drop points from teams above them. And Anzhi, they've got the pressure of relegation behind them. That might spur them on, but I don't think it will enough. I think it'll be 1-0 to Ural. And a critical result for both teams, that. SKA Khabarovsk at home to Dynamo Moscow. Well, like I say, SKA Khabarovsk, this is the weekend that I really expect them to be mathematically relegated. If they fail to win, then whatever happens elsewhere, they are down. And even if they do win, there's still a chance that they that they will be relegated. They at the moment are 11 points behind Tosno, 11 points behind Anzhi. Really, that's the key. Anzhi on the lowest relegation playoff spot. If SKA win and Anzhi win, then there will still be 11 points between them. With 3 games to play, they're down. So absolute bare minimum they have to win. I just don't see them doing it. I don't really see how they can realistically expect or hope to get anything at all. Dynamo Moscow, they have a genuine realistic chance of staying up. I mean, it sounds odd that they're in mid-table, but they're only 2 points above relegation zone, but it's true. I think they'll do the job. I think they'll only be 1-0, but that's all they need. They'll be delighted to take 3 points back, no matter how they get it. Moving on, Arsenal Tula at home to Zenit St. Petersburg. Subplot here, Artem Dzyuba, on loan from Zenit St. Petersburg, fallen completely out of favour at Zenit, and he's battling to get his place in the Russia World Cup squad, and he's been on fire at Arsenal Tula. There's no other way to put it. He's been scoring goals. He scored 4 goals, I think it is, maybe even 5, possibly 4 for Arsenal and 1 for Zenit earlier in the season. Now, it was said 2 weeks ago, he said he was prepared to pay €120,000 just to play in this game. I wasn't aware of the details of this clause in his contract. I can't verify it for absolute certain, and I don't know if he has done that or not, whether he will be allowed to play or not. I tried to find confirmation this morning but couldn't. Point is, he's motivated. But on the other hand, Arsenal, they are not in the greatest run of form just when they need to be holding firm in that race for 6th. They've only won 1 in the last 4 matches. Zenit, they did win their first away match in 7 attempts the last time they were away from home. So I do think they're going to do the business. I think they'll do it 1-0. Arsenal don't concede many or score many, so I don't think Zenit will go wild, but 1-0 is what I think it will be. Moving on to Tosno against Amkar PM. Both sides in the relegation zone. Tosno automatic places, Amkar in the playoff places. We know how poor Amkar are outscoring. They are still the joint lowest scorers in the Premier League with SKA Khabarovsk with 16 goals in 25 games. But they've only conceded 25, which is fairly impressive for a relegation zone team. Only 1 goal conceded per game on average. Tosno, they've limped along. Pavel Pogrebnyak has scored 3 for them in the last 3 games, I think it is. It was 3 in 2 games at one point, but he didn't score last week, I don't believe. So I think this has got a 0-0 draw written all over it. It's going to be a dogfight. Ankara is a reasonable journey to play, and both teams will have played midweek. Tosno in the Russian Cup semi-final against Spartak Moscow, Ankara PM away to CSKA. So they'll both be fairly tired as well. They'll both take a point. It won't really help either of them a massive amount because they really need the 3 points given how close it is down there, but it's better than nothing. Moving on to CSKA against Krasnodar. Pardon me, sorry. Just getting over a bit of man flu there. CSKA, like I say, I expect them to win in midweek against Ankara. So I think they will be in a strong position. In this game, Krasnodar missing Smolov through injury. Now, apparently Krasnodar are going to try and appeal Smolov's yellow card. He was given for diving, and it was obvious it wasn't a dive because he showed on Instagram how his boot had a hole torn through it where he had been stood on for the penalty. But we'll see what that comes to. Certainly if he's suspended, I think CSKA just about have the edge here. I'm actually going to go for 2-0 because I'm impressed with how CSKA have dealt with a small squad this season, especially recently. So 2-0 to CSKA is my prediction. And then we have Lokomotiv against Ufa. Now, this is the last game I'm going to call because we've already gone for Spartak Terek early. Akhmat. Loco, top of the table. By this stage, I expect them to be 8 points clear, having won midweek. That's what I expect. Ufa, they're struggling. The pressure's on. Can they hold on to 6th? And honestly, I don't think they will be able to do it. Lokomotiv have very few injury problems left. Vedran Joluka is back in action. So I'm going to go for a Lokomotiv win. I'm going to go for 1-0. Nothing fancy. Ufa are terrible away from home. They've lost a hell of a lot of games. And Loco, they know that this one more win, it may even be enough mathematically to secure the title. But if not, realistically, it will. Okay, that's all we've got time for, guys. Please get your predictions in. You must get them in by Wednesday, 5:30 UK time. We will not accept any later. Best of luck, guys, and I'll see you next time.